everyone, and
Hello.
welcome to our next episode of Yuntaku Live. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Lynn Miyahira, and I have my beautiful co-host, Shizu.
Hi.
Everyone. But what a awesome week it's been, and we're excited, that we were able to wrap up Virtual Okinawan Festival. Of course, we have Janine. There you are, Kanyohe in the house. All right. Um, but we're excited to be back on our Yuntaku Live schedule here, and this is our 48th episode.
Wow.
48th episode. Yeah, that's pretty neat. We do have special guests with us today from the Okinawan Genealogical Society of Hawaii. But before we get into that, really quick, we just want to make sure that everyone, um, tell us where you're coming in from, just like Janine. Tell us where you're at. Hello, everyone. Um, Make sure to subscribe, and tell your friends to subscribe. A lot of people um, who are watching our show thought they were subscribed to our HUOA YouTube channel, but didn't realize that they weren't. So you got to kind of log in with your Gmail account and all of that. So make sure you kind of set that up and then subscribe, because the more people we get to subscribe, then you'll get notices when these things come up. So thank you again to everybody who's been a part of our YouTube journey over the last year and a half. We also want to remind everyone that we, as a nonprofit, we do run on the generosity and donations of viewers like you. So if you are able, please, and if you are in a position to, we appreciate any and all donations as well. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, we also sent out a purple blast. If you want to be part of our HUOA email list, we do send out purple blast email. We call it purple blast. It's our email newsletter. Hey, Linda, of course, never fails. Linda is one of our loyal Yuntaku Live watchers, and we have Jackie Toma as well from Kapahulu. So happy to see everyone back for our Yuntaku Live episodes. So I want to jump into and just say a big mahalo and ipe nihe debiru to everybody who joined us for the virtual Okinawan Festival. It was such an amazing, experience. I think even as a second year in a row, we tried to kind of elevate the experience a little bit and bring some new things, a little bit more live things. But with live TV, things happen all the time. So we are definitely learning and exploring as we go. But I also want to remind everyone that coming up very soon, on September 21st, is our HUOA 70th anniversary. All right, yes. So we're celebrating our 70th birthday. We were established in 1951 as as the umbrella organization of all our different Okinawan clubs, and so we want to make sure that everyone, you can do bento orders again to celebrate with us. So we're going to do this on you have to order your bento by tomorrow though. So go to huoa.org, or you can also if you get our newsletter, the button is right there. And pickup will be on Tuesday, the 21st. I know that's a weekday. So you can either come at lunchtime or on 11 to 1 to pick up, or you can come in the evening, 4 to 6 p.m. At the Hawaii Okinawa Center to pick up your bentos. So celebrate with us. We'll have an online program as well that evening. And we are excited. One of the things that we are asking all of our clubs to do is to put together poster boards about their club history. And so, in the near future, and we'll have to figure this out with crowds and things like that. But we do want to invite people to the Okinawa Center so they can view these poster boards and kind of see what we're all about. So happy birthday to us! Happy 70th birthday
Yay.
to the HUOA! And also want to remind people to enter your photos. We do have or did our deadline pass already for the Okifest photo contest? So I hope you took
Mhm.
photos of you and your family and your food. Um, and we're going to hopefully pick some of our top. We usually do top four, two winners per category. So one is ohana, one is show us your food. So you can vote actually. And so if you got our Purple Blast email, the categories are there. They're already in there. So we're actually letting the general public vote, and then we're gonna have um, you're gonna help us decide which are the winners, right? Um, and also remember that you can take the survey. Let us know what you thought. and the link is there on our website as well as inside this Purple Blast email. So thanks again, everyone, for supporting us. It's been such an interesting 2 years, right? That we've all been doing virtual programs, and we definitely want to hear back from people because it's a one way that we can actually feel like we're still doing this all together, right? Even though we can't be in person together. So
Yeah,
um,
and we also have some updates about the marketplace. So
yeah,
thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
everyone who placed orders. We've had a really tremendous response. We're trying to process those orders as quickly as possible, but we do have some of the shipments won't come in till mid to late September. So really appreciate your patience. You can see I'm wearing the information jersey
Oh,
today.
yeah.
And we have new merchandise in works for the 70th anniversary Lynn was talking about, and then also for Uchinanchu no Hi. So if you want to stay up to date about those, make sure to subscribe to the Purple Blast, our e-newsletter that Lynn was showing earlier, and you'll get the up-to-date reminders about that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easiest way. Actually, so the question about where can I submit the photo for the photo cards, we actually already, the deadline is passed, sorry. So the deadline has passed for the photo contest, but you can vote on all the submissions. And so that's what's online right now. And then we have another question from a viewer, Tracy. Do you know what's available on the Big Island for Okinawan clubs? That's a really good question. And there's actually 4 clubs. So it depends on where you live. We have Hilo, which is the club is called Hui Okinawa. Kona, which is called the Kona Okinawa Kenjinkai. But if you're up in Kohala, we have the Kohala Okinawa Kenjinkai. And then Honoka'a has their own club and called Hui Uruma. So if you want to know more, you can definitely email us and let us know where you are. Hilo side, okay, so it's Hui Okinawa. And if you want to know more information, you can contact us at info@huoa.org, and maybe tell us a little bit more about where you live, and we can get you in touch with the right people. So thank you so much for that question. I think it's a great way that we can all, I love the interactiveness of this. All right. All right. And then Linda says, yeah, she's going to order her bento tonight. So thank you, Linda. It's great. I think we'll all order your bentos tonight. Don't forget, we extended the deadline so we could announce it tonight too. I also want to thank everyone who joined us for the Okinawan Festival. That ended actually today, and it's just been such an amazing response from our community. I was just talking to Sherry earlier, and so places like Ige's Halava, they heard about that we as the HUOA had to cancel our Andagi on the dog sale. And so they stepped up and they said, you know what, we're going to donate proceeds from their own Andagi sale to the HUOA. And what I found out today is that they've generated over $1,000 in donations for us. So we're so thankful for the support. It's really, truly in the spirit of Yui Maaru that we are able to help each other, and it's exciting to see that we can all, like when we all come together, what amazing things can happen. There are over 20 participating restaurants that had festival specials, and if you're still curious, you can definitely continue to support these restaurants. There's a full list on the Okinawan Festival website. If you go to hawaiiokinawans.com, that shows up all the different Okinawan-owned restaurants that you can support all year round, right? You don't have to wait for festival to support these, and these should be on your top list, right? Whenever you got to think about where we need to go or where we're going to take out, right? Support your locally owned restaurants. And so we appreciate everyone's support, and we want to thank everyone for coming out in force. I know a lot of restaurants were like a little overwhelmed with the response. The phone just kept going off the hook. And so that's really thanks to all of you for showing up and coming out when we've asked you to. So mahalo and ipeni he David for that.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. So Here we go. We got a lot to cover tonight. So let's introduce our guests. So we have, you want to go, or should I introduce them? Sorry, let me look at my notes here. I got all
So today we have Joy and Donna from the Okinawan Genealogical Society of Hawaii. So maybe we can bring them up on the screen.
All right. Also known as OGSH. Everyone knows, like internally, right? We just know you guys as OGSH. I had to think about the full name there for a while, right? OGSH, Okinawa Genealogy, so Genealogical Society of Hawaii. So, so happy to have you guys, both Joy and Donna. So, tell us a little bit. Introduce our viewers to what I'm going to use the short name because I'm much better at that. What OGSH is and what your mission is.
Yes, well, we are a nonprofit affiliate member of HUOA, and we support the genealogical interests of all HUOA clubs, not just our own OGSH members. Our main goal is to help families find their Uchinanchu roots. Over the generations since the initial immigration to Hawaii from Okinawa 120 years ago, or more, many Uchinanchus lost contact with their relatives in Okinawa, and they want to reconnect. But most people have no idea how to even get started in their search. So that's where OGSH comes in. We have access to resources that can help people get started. Also, we provide educational programs on Okinawan history and culture, especially if it relates to genealogy. And we participate in events that allow us to share our information with club members, HUOA members, and also the community at large.
Yeah, I think OGSH, it's such a huge value add, I think, to all members of HUOA, yeah? And then tell us a little bit about how, Joy, you got
Yes.
involved, and your kind of personal involvement with OGSH and your role.
Yes. Well, when I was younger, like most young people, I never thought about the past or my ancestors or what my grandparents went through until I would say my mid-30s or so. I found out something shocking. I found out that my parents' marriage was an arranged marriage. Yes, I was dumbfounded. And all of a sudden, I started to realize that my mother's life was nothing like my life today. And I was living on the mainland, so I really couldn't pursue much of, genealogy research. So about 10 years ago, when my husband Mike and I retired, we moved back to Hawaii, and I heard about the monthly meetings that OGSH has at the HOC. So I attended one, and I was so impressed by the members, their mission, and all the activities that they participated in that I joined right that first meeting. And I've just been so happy and so privileged to have met all of these great people through OGSH.
Yeah, that's a great story. I think that's it's a really I bet you there's a lot of people with similar stories like you. Sorry, can we jump over to Donna? Donna, can you tell us a little bit about why and
Okay.
how you got involved?
Yeah. So my situation was a little different than Joy's. Um, we had a Uchima document project that our family had initiated, and we ended up donating the document to University of Hawaii. And this project was spanned 4 years to complete it from in 2007 to 2011. And so this particular document has been for me almost like the gateway for me getting involved in OGSH, because in 2014 I was invited by OGSH to talk about that kafu, and so uh, as soon as I got there and I met the group, I was hooked. So that was
Mm.
it. Their values and everything just aligns with what I feel is important, for us to leave as a legacy, for future generations. And so I really think this whole thing about finding out about our ancestors should be part of everybody's life journey. And so that's why I'm there.
Well, that's amazing stories, and I think your personal stories and it sounds like this is a group where once you go to that first meeting, you're hooked.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
All right. Well, I think we have fun facts, or let me see if can you tell us maybe a little bit about
Yes.
the brief history of OGSH. Sorry.
Oh, Okay, well, before I do that, I would like to go through some fun facts that might interest you about the immigrants that went out to the rest of the world. First of all, Hawaii was the most popular destination for Okinawan immigrants. There were 16,905 people came to Hawaii. Peru was next with 9,955. The Philippines, 8,974. Brazil, 6,557. And a lot went to the U.S. mainland, Canada, Mexico, Cuba, Russia, and China. Most immigrants were between the ages of 16 and 25 years old. Can you imagine 16 years old?
Yeah.
Yes. The peak years were 1906 to 1907 and 1917 to 1918. And the most common last names were Higa and Oshiro. Now, yes, my name is Shimabukuro, and that was sixth most common. And Inafuku, which was way down the list as 66th most common.
Oh, that's great. I love, this is where we probably get our names right for the Uchinanchu name shirt.
Yeah.
I wonder where Miyahira landed in the list.
Well,
Maybe
we do have
not close to 10, maybe
a
not-
database.
Right.
We have a database that you could look it up on the OGSH webpage.
Oh,
So
okay. So
Yeah.
we'll get into that, yeah, in a second about how and exactly where, how do people access the database.
okay.
Yeah, when I first emailed info@hua.org about this internship, one of the factors is I want to learn a little bit more about the Higa family name, kind of the ancestry, and so OGSH's name came up very early on my radar. So it's nice to be talking to you guys. And I understand the organization is a few years older than me. I think you guys are almost at 30 years since its founding.
Yeah, almost. We started in 1993.
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe you can tell us more about that history and the reasons you explained the reasons it started. but-
Well, okay. We started as a result of a genealogy workshop that was conducted by Dr. Bernice Hirai and the Hawaii Hiroshima Heritage Study Group, and that was in 1993. At that time, Dr. Hirai was a koto instructor at UH Manoa, who was able to trace her lineage back 24 generations to an archer/swordsman around 858. And I mean 858, not 1858, 858 AD. Yes. Well, anyway, a month after that workshop, Warren H. Higa, who was then the HUOA president, held a meeting with 34 participants, and the Okinawa Heritage Club was formed. John Tasato was named its first president. And I recently asked John Tasato, how did OGSH begin? And this is what he said.
No?
Okay,
go.
in 1990, when I was the HUOA president, and we built the Hawaii Okinawa Center, so there were some legal documents that needs to be drafted. That's when I knew of this Warren Higa being an attorney. So I asked him to draft the document. At the same time, I asked him, can you be the third vice president for HUOA? And he agreed to it. And then I asked him, I said, what Sonjinkai do you belong to? He says, I don't know, maybe Nago. I said, hey, Warren, you, the president, need to know what Sonjinkai you come from. Okay, so he says, how do we do this? Well, let's start a Okinawan Genealogical Club. He says, okay, let's do a workshop. Okay, and at that time, then I asked the United Japanese Society, point of contact with Dr. Bernice Hirai. So she contributed a lot for the beginning of this workshop. But what left me with Bernice is a saying when she conducted this workshop, is the saying that never left my mind. And this is what she said, and quote, is there a person that who at one time in one's life has not yearned for those ancestral that binds? What part do I play in the family line started by my forebearers? What can I leave for the generation that come after me. Ultimately, each of our individual genealogies becomes a valuable foundation for the future of our ethnic population, which today often encompasses a cultural diversity of groups that due to successful intermarriages. But this heritage will disappear unless we do something now. And congratulations on our startup. And this is how we started our genealogical society.
Oh, that was a great quote. It's similar when I came here. A lot of people asked me, where is your family from in Okinawa? And I would answer Ginowan. And they were like, okay, well, where's the Yago? And I was like, I don't even know what a Yago is. So that kind of prompted me to start calling my grandpa in Okinawa on a weekly basis and learn more about my family history and such. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Well, in 1997, I should continue on with my story. The bylaws were signed. It took them 3 years to, write up the bylaws. And they changed their name to, at that time, the Okinawan Genealogical Society of Hawaii. And our mission statement is to promote, preserve, and perpetuate our Okinawa family heritage through education, research, and networking. And many of those original charter members are still active today. This is a photo taken at our 25th anniversary banquet in 2018.
Wow.
Many of them, for 28 years, they've been contributing their time.
Oh, I see, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, wow.
An unofficial count done, and there's this is our latest in-person Bonenkai, or our banquet in 2019. And it shows you how much we've grown from the original 34. An unofficial count was done in 2017, and we showed that we had 160 members on Oahu, 2 on Hawaii Island, 1 on Maui, 13 on the continental United States from California to Delaware, and 2 honorary members from Okinawa.
That's really neat to show, that we, you don't have to be here in Hawaii necessarily even to be a member, right? And actually that's the beauty of it, is that there are probably more people that once they see this, get ready, Joy, Donna, because they might see this and then you're going to get a flood of inquiries, because that is actually how a lot of people find us. Sometimes they're looking for, specific information on a grandmother or another ancestor, and then, it starts the rabbit hole. You start going down the rabbit hole. But just to be able to help all these people, it is really, really amazing. And I know you guys have some testimonials, right, from people who OGSH has touched over the years. And I just think it's a wonderful service that, we're able to help these people, because I do think personally it differentiates us from other cultural organizations out there in the world, really. And that it just, I think, personally touches so many people.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do you happen to know around how many people you've been able to help with their research?
Yes. Well, I'm sure it's in the hundreds and the hundreds. I just received a status report from Sally Tsuda, who is the coordinator of our research assistance team. And this is her status report. These are the cases that they
Wow, so
service.
organized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have a report, and this is through the pandemic. They've still managed to assist all of these people in finding their roots. So.
And I also understand that, so we have the Worldwide Uchinanchu Taikai coming up in 2022. Learn more about that if you're interested. But part of that is being able to visit your ancestral villages. And I was wondering if OGSH can help people find relatives who might still be living in Okinawa.
Yes, we have helped many people find relatives in Okinawa and actually go and meet them. And in fact, I have Penny Sakamoto's story here. She really hit the jackpot when she joined OGSH to find her roots. And I'll let her tell her story in this following video.
Hello, my name is Penny Sakamoto. My grandparents, Kame and Anta Ueshiro, were from Onnason, Okinawa. I joined the Okinawan Genealogical Society of Hawaii, OGSH, with a friend to learn more about my family history and in hopes of meeting relatives in Okinawa. Members of OGSH helped me start this journey. We searched the database and other resource material in the OGSH library. The Japanese consulate gave me immigration records of my grandparents. Then I requested family registry information from the Onna Prefectural Office. I found the names of my great-grandparents from this registry, but then I was at an impasse until OGSH started working with the Okinawa Prefectural Library, OPL, and its staff. In 2018, I joined a tour to Okinawa hosted by OGSH. During this trip, representatives from OPL drove me to Onnason to meet museum representatives. These museum representatives had researched my family history and presented me with a huge amount of information. I was overwhelmed. They traced my relatives back to 1577 AD. They were able to do this because all firstborn sons in my family had An or An in their names. My uncle was Ansho, my grandfather was Anta, and so on down the line. I even found out my family is related to a king, King Shogen. We then went to the Kisembaru Community Center, where I met about 10 of my relatives. I was still in shock, but knew they were my relatives because one of the men looked just like my uncle in Hawaii. They had kept a book listing all our relatives for many generations, which confirmed most of the information I received from the Onna Museum staff. I was blown away by this whole amazing experience. OGSH, along with OPL and the Onna Museum, all helped me find information and led me to meeting relatives in Okinawa. Our OGSH can help you too. Thank you. Bye.
Testimonial, I think it just shows the coordination and the power of OGSH. That's amazing. Donna, sorry, I wanted to ask
Yes.
you a few questions.
Hmm.
You had mentioned some documents. When you said what had gotten you interested
Hmm.
in OGSH at first. Can you explain a little bit more about the historical significance of what you were able to kind of bring in? And then actually we got to go a little bit more into that and like explain some history behind what a kafu is or a koseki or that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but let's back up a little bit. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll be glad to share that with you. So the difference between a kafu and a koseki is that a kafu is it's just an Okinawan product. It has genealogy information, like who our ancestors were. But in addition to their names, you also have a narrative of the kinds of positions that they held while they were employed by the government. And so it's a very robust document that has more than just names. And so because it's unique to Okinawa and it was only in existence for about 200 years because it was implemented and established around 1650. And from there on, it became a tool for the government to keep track of the government workers. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's
I'm taking notes here. Sorry, I'm just saying. Wow. Okay, so I've heard of for those of you who don't know, Japanese koseki is kind of like your city hall documents. It's like where you put your birth and death records, right? But this document you're talking about, a kafu,
kafu. Yep.
it is much more than that, and just to be able to kind of go back in history, right? And
Yes.
so, what was
What I
the?
wanted to
Yeah, sorry, the document. Or sorry, go
no,
keep
no,
going.
I just wanted to say that because it existed only for a a couple of hundred years, the number of documents that are available is really it's not that many. And
Mm-hmm.
so when they found out about this one that was in Hawaii, um, the whole so many people got very excited about it, and that's what prompted the University of Hawaii and the Center for Okinawan Studies and Okinawan government to create the first ancestral symposium. And I can talk about that later, but that's the kind of energy and interest that this document created for our community. And so it was very special.
Yeah, that is amazing.
It is.
And I bet, just most of these documents were probably destroyed in Okinawa during the war, right?
Correct.
So they just didn't
Yeah.
have any left.
Correct. And so this document was still back in Okinawa during World War II. And so I heard that my grandpa's younger brother was taking care of the document. And so he would wrap it around his body, so that was his way of trying to protect that document. And so when we finally looked at the document, when it made its way to Hawaii, you could see the sweat stains, on the pages,
wow.
just from that kind of handling. But it was in pretty bad shape, but the prefectural museum did an incredible job of restoring it, and of course the Uchima family, we got together and we raised the funds to restore that document. But and there's more to this whole thing, so I can share some of that later.
Yeah. Oh, it's an amazing story. So you talked a little bit about, working with the Japanese government or the Okinawan government and the Okinawan Prefectural Library and things like that. But for most of us, especially, the diaspora of us around the world, can't read Japanese or cannot read, some of these documents are not in modern day Japanese either, right? Like you'd have to know kanji from that time. How can OGSH help with that kind of? Is there somebody who can help, or is there research assistance?
Okay, so here on island and part of our club, we are fortunate that we have a couple of people who can read Japanese, so they've been our main translators. However, for the ones that require a little bit more research, we have the benefit of this partnership with OPL, and so we're able to reach back to Okinawa so that they can assist us in doing more of the legwork where our resources sometimes are limited. Yeah,
I should mention OPL is Okinawa Prefectural Library.
correct. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes,
I'm using a lot of acronyms here, but
I
Okinawa
know.
Prefectural Library, where
Yes.
yeah, that is an amazing story, and I think somebody has asked me once to help translate a document, but I couldn't read it. It was in kanji that I just couldn't read, and so I do think it takes a special, it's a special skill, and I'm so happy that you guys have connections to the Okinawa Prefectural Library, where they have people who have degrees in this stuff. So
Well, I do want to share that when it came to our Uchima document, it was a Chinese literature professor who actually could read it, because like you
wow.
said, the writing is so old that
Yeah.
modern
Well, that's interesting.
Japanese readers cannot read
Wait,
it.
okay, so now I don't feel so bad. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't read anything on the document. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. So I know you guys have another video, right? I think we have a video from
Yes,
Jackie Toma,
Jackie Toma. Yes. So
who's
she's
watching
going to
tonight.
Yes, so she's going to be sharing her experience with the rest of us. So let's watch her.
Okay.
Hi, Tai. I'm Jackie Toma, and I first joined the OGSH in 2018 because I was interested in finding my father's relatives in Okinawa. My father had gotten a book, a genealogy book, from his cousin in 1993, and the only problem was that it was written all in Japanese. So when I went to OGSH, I was able to find an Okinawan graduate student and through the librarian there, and he translated the book for me, and he translated it from my dad's all the way back to the original King Shohashi's brother, which was really exciting to find out. And then in 2019, my mother's side of the family was having a family reunion to go over to Okinawa to visit the Kochi side of the relatives. And during the trip, I wanted to make sure that I also got to see the Toma relatives in Owase. And I happened to be talking to Pearl Toma at a meeting, and I found out that she and I both had the same genealogy chart. And she told me that 20 years prior, she and her husband had gone to Okinawa to visit the Toma relatives. And so I asked her if she could give me the name of a person that I could contact. And so she gave me the name of Sukihira Toma, and I contacted him. And he arranged for me and my niece to meet him, and also my dad's cousin, who was in his 80s, who was the one who bought the book. And so I got to meet with him. I showed him old family photos, and he recognized, my father's sister who lived in Okinawa. And so that was really, really fun to be able to connect with our family. And he even offered to take us to the family grave. And we drove on this newly developed road, and they were on the hillside. There were like these 3 Toma grave sites. And this was one of the highlights of my trip to Okinawa.
Wow.
Yeah. Donna, we have a few more questions about the OGSH database.
Okay.
Sorry, I just have so many questions.
Understandable.
Okay, so the OGSH has that online immigrant database as a tool, right? So how does OGSH assist with inquiries? How did you do that before this database, right? Because I guess that, like Joyce said, the club was, in 1997, so before the website and everything. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the history of the development of this database?
Okay, so I talked to one of our charter members, Nancy Tome, and she said that the evolution of the database actually started very simply, so it was manual. And so they had the information on the 3x5 cards. And those 3x5 cards, index cards, were stored in shoe boxes, so that they could go through it,
Wow.
right? And so it was a very laborious, manual, tedious process for them to collect the names. But with each added record that they had, they would put it in that shoebox. And around 2002 is when they had the help of Miyashiro to help start them develop this database. And so by then they had some idea of what they wanted that database to look like. So that was the start of the database. And she told me something very interesting too. Early on, they did a lot of interaction with some of the other genealogy clubs that were still around on island. So Portuguese genealogy club, Chinese, and White Bahu Plantation also had some access to some other clubs. Most of them are not active anymore, but back in the day, just getting feedback from the other community clubs kind of helped them conceptually design, their database. And so that was the beginning of the database.
Wow. Yes. 3x5 index cards. I think that's
Yes.
probably how most of us remember going to the library. Yeah. What would we do without data?
Yeah, without
3x5 index cards and shoe boxes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and so here very shortly we'll be watching a video that Dorothy Nakama made for us, and it goes a little bit more into the history of the database, and that will give the audience a better idea of the whole database development.
all right.
The painstaking effort to create the initial database of the Hawaii Okinawan immigrants was started in the year 2000, which became a 17-year project, resulting with a database containing 16,500 immigrants to Hawaii. Members of OGSH volunteered their time, skills, and knowledge translating publications written in kanji and inputting them into a database format. Information usually includes the name of the immigrant in kanji and romanji, date of birth, age of travel, address, family information, passport number, passport approval date, travel approval date, destination, and purpose of travel. The challenges were many in developing the database. Kanji characters had more than one reading. Ryukyu names could be spelled differently. Sometimes birth dates, travel dates were approximate. In addition to the people's names, city, towns, and villages had to be translated, some of which do not exist today. The various changes were met, and the database has been used extensively and is available at OGSH. In 2018, additional immigrant data became available. Building on the earlier database framework and the translation efforts of a researcher, and with newer technological knowledge and skills, an OGSH member was able to automate the translation process of 50,000 records, which also includes the names of the immigrants in the original database. This database contains both the original kanji and the romanji translation, which allows native Okinawans to be able to identify the kanji names, even though the romanji readings are in question. The database can be accessed by going to Hawaii United Okinawa Association, that's HUOA website.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. When I was asking my grandpa about where they were originally from before the war, my grandpa was saying that the village that my grandma was from was too small, so it just became absorbed into just Nago generally. So amazing to think that they were doing this before, the age of the internet and all these resources that were available. And I'm sure that there are so many people who now want to try using this database. So, Joy, I think you have a video, and maybe you can also just explain how that database works and how it's accessible online and such.
Well, yes. As they said earlier, that in 2018, the database went digital, and that allowed us to have it accessible to anyone who had an internet connection. So there are people from all over the world accessing the database and getting information from it. I do have a video. I actually used it, and I can show you how easy it is to use. And let's see the video.
Hello, everyone. My name is Toma, and I am a member of the Okinawan Genealogical Society, a part of the United Okinawan Association. Today, I will give you a brief introduction to our Okinawan Genealogical Resources website, which you can find in a link in the UOA website. This is a culmination of a 3-year effort and contains a variety of resources from databases, videos, scholarly papers, and web links from all over the world in English, Japanese, Portuguese, and Spanish. As you can see here, there are many databases, but the flagship database is the Okinawan Immigrant Database, containing over 50,000 records of immigrants who immigrated all over the world at the turn of the century. This resource has been online now for about 2 months, and have had people from around the world looking for their first-generation essays. As expected, we have had many from Hawaii and California, but also have had people from Canada, Germany, England, Netherlands, Spain, and Brazil visit us. So now you too can begin your own search for your essays. Thank you.
This is how I found my Issei grandfather in the OGSH online immigrant database. I went to HUOA.org, which is HUOA's website, went to the information drop-down menu and selected genealogy, then selected OGSH database. On the resources page here, go to the migration databases drop-down menu and select the very first one. I inputted my grandfather's name. His name was Taro Shimabukuro, and conducted a search. It showed up 10 possibilities here, but I did remember or find out that his birth year was 1873. So I went back to the search page, entered 1873 under birth year, and conducted another search. And it narrowed the possibilities down to one, an example of how as much information as you can get will help you with your search. Here he is, Taro Shimabukuro, and this is his immigration information. This is his household address in Okinawa, and this is the number of relatives that resided at the same address in Okinawa. So if you click on that, you will see that Taro also comes up again, but the other resident of that address was Kame Shimabukuro, my grandmother, and this is her immigration information. This is how simple the database is to use. So try it out yourself, and good luck on your search. Thank you for watching.
Wow, that's really amazing that you can get like the address of where they were residing. That's really special.
Wow,
And
that is, yeah. Thank you for doing that.
yeah.
Kind of made it, showing people how easy it is, and with the more information you have, right, that you can collect ahead of time actually helps you with the search, right? So
Yes, that's true.
And so how does OGSH collect this information? Is it mostly people inputting it themselves, or how does that work? If anyone wants to help with that research.
You mean how does OGSH collect the information that's in the database?
Yeah, to input in the database itself.
Okay,
yeah.
that was provided by Hiroaki Hara, and he was in Hawaii a couple of years ago. He was on sabbatical from the Okinawan Prefectural Library, and he came with a digital copy of the 60,000, 65,000 people that emigrated out of Okinawa. And Al Toma and Shigeru Yoshimoto, who did the translations, the three of them together automated that, and that's what's on the database.
Yeah, and so if individuals want to kind of help with this database or have information to add to the database, how might they get involved?
Well, this is where our research assistance team comes into play. If you find all of this is altogether too overwhelming, you can contact OGSH, and we have Sally and her assistance team ready
volunteers,
to
right?
accept you. Yes, all volunteer, dedicated volunteers. And here's a video that kind of describes the service that we provide.
Amazing.
If you do not know where to begin your search for an immigrant, OGSH has a team of research volunteers. They are a dedicated group of volunteers that can set you on the right path. But they emphasize that they are just your partners. You must assume responsibility and provide information as well as participating in the research process. Talking to relatives is one of the best ways to obtain family history, And finding family documents can also be very, very helpful. We have a researcher who is available to provide translation assistance by looking over documents. By being involved in the research process, you get the satisfaction of discovering your own history. One of our resources is the ability to collaborate with the staff at Okinawa Prefecture Library, also known as OPL, when in need of more information or assistance. Before COVID social distancing restrictions, the research team met in person with individuals or families needing assistance on Friday mornings. This was held at the Hawaii Okinawa Center by appointment. They're hoping to resume this as soon as COVID restrictions allow. In the meantime, they offer research assistance by mail or email. Contact information will be posted at the end of the program.
Wow, that's very exciting. I don't know if like people realize how much information is in there, right? This is amazing. Um, are there other? Sorry, I'm gonna just jump into the. Are there other ways or other resources that can help? With the assistance, right? Because she mentioned in the video, right? Like it helps if you talk to relatives and you bring family documents, right? With you.
Yes, if you've decided that you would like to get started, the best thing to do is to get as much information about your Issei forefathers as you can. Um, and I do have a video, and because OGSH has a couple of tools that can help you get started.
Right.
Okay, so now you've decided to do some research into your family genealogy. How do you get started? Well, first you have to commit some time to finding basic information. A good start would be to go to the genealogy webpage located at the HUOA.org website and download this OGSH genealogy service form and fill out as many blanks as you can about your Issei or first generation immigrant. For example, name, if you can have it in kanji, that would be good. Date of birth or age at travel. Place of birth or aza. Your passport number. Their travel year and date. Family information. Yago and household name, etc., etc. The more information that you can gather, the easier your search will be. Also, gather as many original documents as you can. You may have to ask parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, or even second and third cousins, whoever you think may have some knowledge of your family tree. You may also want to purchase a copy of the OGSH Guidebook. It's a very detailed reference to help you in your research. It contains several sections. Section 1, Connecting with Family Today. It offers hints on keeping organized. It contains various resources and websites that can assist you in your search. It has examples of original documents and what information you can get from them. It also shows you how to search microfilm records at the Hawaii State Library System. Section 2, Connecting to Ancestral Okinawa, guides you to resources in Okinawa where you can find even more clues to your family history. Section 3, Connecting for Family Tomorrow, offers tips on how to prepare, preserve, protect, and share your precious work. But this publication is not just a guidebook, it's also a reference book. It's just chock full of very useful and interesting information. For example, right in the beginning of the book on page 9, it contains the names of the first group of 26 immigrants entering Hawaii on January 8, 1900. It includes a copy of part of the original ship's passenger manifest. There's an extensive appendix section as well. These are some of the pages from it. Here's a page on computer websites. These are tips for interviewers, so you can interview your family and friends. A history of Okinawa. Helpful resources for genealogy research. History of names in Okinawa. General terminology. Rulers of Okinawa through history. Ryukyu Kingdom terminology. Geographical definitions. If you've ever wondered the difference between an aza and a cho or a son, this page will help you. A map of Okinawa Island. Looks like it's dated 1944. And here is a more recent map of Okinawa.
Wow. If people want to find this guidebook, where do they look for it, or do you guys sell the book? Or?
Yes, well, you'll have to contact OGSH and inquire about it, and I think we can guide you to the proper people.
Okay. Oh, Lynn.
Thank you for putting together a book, because I think that's what's takes a lot of time and effort, right? From the
Yes.
all volunteer effort, right? I'm sure that there's a lot of challenges that go into that. But I'm just curious. There must have been some really challenging or interesting or difficult, right? Research requests that maybe some of your research assistant team have received. Can you describe a few of them, maybe?
Yes, we do get interesting requests every now and then. And in order to satisfy them, we go through not only our own database, but, we consult census information, military records, obituaries, believe it or not, is a big source of information. But OGSH is really, I guess the strength of OGSH is the personal connections that we have. For example, a couple of there was one client that we actually sent out OGSH members to Kalihi and asked people around if they knew this certain person. Same thing with OGSH. We contacted some people we knew in Okinawa, so they went out to the neighborhood, and asked around and found some relatives of the client. Jay Higa, who is on our research assistance team, recorded a couple of videos that kind of illustrates, the extent to which OGSH has gone in the past in order to find your relatives.
In 2019, OGSH received a request from the Honolulu Mayor's Office to locate any relatives of Okinawan Nisei soldier Yoshio Tengwan, who was buried at Epinal American Cemetery in the town of Bruyères, France. This was in conjunction with the town's 75th anniversary celebration of their liberation by the 100th 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Besides our immigration database, our team searched other sources, including census data, military records, obituaries, etc. This research found that his parents returned to Okinawa before the war, but Yoshio remained in Maui. He moved from Lahaina after graduating high school and lived with his auntie and her family on Camforth Road in Kalihi. He worked at Jimmy's Safety Garage at the corner of Ward and Kapiolani before volunteering for the 442nd. OGSH volunteers asked around of people who lived in Kalihi at that time if they remembered him or relatives. This led them to Yoshio's remaining first cousin, who confirmed the relationship. She was able to speak with Mayor Caldwell's office 1 week prior to their departure for France for the commemoration, and the mayor's team was able to give the family's blessings to the town of Bruyères. So, if you happen to visit the American Veterans Cemetery in Bruyères, France, please honor PFC Yoshi Tengwan.
Wow. Okay. That is an amazing story where, we can see connecting, it's not how relevant it is, right, to today, and where, I think we think of genealogy as the past, but how it really connects us to the future too, right? Right. I think that most people I know who've gotten interested in their genealogy, it's because maybe, somebody might have passed away, but they're actually looking for their own future for themselves and for their future generations. They feel this heavy burden of like, wow, I've met a lot of people who are like, wow, I'm the grandma now, and I need to be able to share this stuff with my grandkids, and I don't know anything, right? And that fear of like, oh my god, it might die with me. But so, and that drives a lot of people, right, to learn more. So thank you guys so much for putting all this stuff together. I just think it's really, really impressive. Yeah, like other people are just like, wow, this is so it's so amazing. And I think, yeah, we'll have the email for everyone at the end of the show. I think you guys are going to get a lot of emails after this, but we'll flash that up on the screen for you guys so that everyone can kind of, contact you with their stories, their quests maybe too.
Yeah, and in addition to the database, I understand, Donna, you can maybe talk about it, that you guys have a collection or anthology of kind of short stories that you've collected from different Uchinanchus, and they have, I think there were a couple titles, My Mother Was a Bootlegger, or Grandma Kamadu Died Happy. Maybe you can talk about one of your favorites out of those short stories. Yeah.
Okay, so our short stories is really one of my favorite products because it's a product that kind of connects the dots. So it takes you from your researching your ancestors, and then you can actually document it by creating a story to put in our short story books. And so it's a good partner. Yeah, you have the research and then you have the short story books. So I'd like to share some of the volumes with you. So in volume 4, and this is what the cover looks like. It's maybe not that easy to see okay, because of the colors
behind you.
Yeah. But anyway, in this particular volume, you have life in 1918 Okinawa, and it's a story that will give our readers some insight into what inspired Okinawans to immigrate to Hawaii. And there is also another one that talks about Grandma Kamadu Died Happy, and this is such a cute story. It's about this grandma who's just so determined that her son has to get married, and she wants to see this happen before she gets too old, to enjoy that occasion. And so you will actually love reading that story. And then in volume 6, which is this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I have volume 7.
Okay, yeah. So volume 6 has a story. It's a Kibe story. So a Kibe is an Okinawan who was born in Hawaii and lived in Okinawa for some period of time. So this Kibe lived through the Battle of Okinawa and returned to Hawaii after World War II, and how he adjusted to life in America. Volume 7 is this one.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
Yeah, okay. This one has a story about 3 women, 3 lives from the Ginowan Club, and they share their story of what it was like to immigrate to Hawaii, getting married, and all the adjustments that they had to make. But it's from the perspective of 3 different women. Volume 2, I'm going kind of all over the map. Volume 2. Okay, so this one has a wonderful story about My Mother Was a Bootlegger. And this is a story, I think, no, it's one of those things that many Okinawan families participated in, this extracurricular activity that produced extra income. And so my mother's family was no different. And my grandmother actually got arrested And
Oh.
so she had a police record, yeah. And so my mother couldn't travel to Okinawa. She was actually on the ship, and they had to pull her off. They
Oh
said,
my
"I'm sorry,
gosh.
yeah, I'm
Oh
sorry,
my
you cannot go because
gosh.
your mom has a police record." And
Oh my
she was
god.
so shocked. But it was just one of those things, it's a lot of families, that's what they did. And so these
Mm,
stories are just a sample of the kind of rich stories that people have shared with us. And so
mhm.
this short story project has been so popular that we're now up to volume 7, and we're currently working on volume 8. And we'd like to invite you out there to share your stories, because it's a wonderful way to honor your loved ones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
I,
so yeah.
Yeah. Also, I know a lot of people out there are thinking, I just live a simple life. I have nothing to write about. But, I have to say, my mother um, grew up on a plantation in Waipahu. She went to school until the 8th grade and then went to work. She got married and had and raised 5 children. But I can tell you, there are a lot of, best-selling books or hit movies about arranged marriages, which she lived through.
mhm.
So, yeah, her life may have been simple, but there is a story to tell there, and many
Mhm.
stories to tell. So I
Yeah.
invite all of you to, try it out. If you have something, a story to tell, please send it in to us. We'd appreciate it.
Mm.
See,
Mhm.
this is Jackie here. Yeah, her Toma grandma made liquor and sold it from the back of their house. Yeah. My auntie remembers decorating the
Yeah.
bottle. Oh, classic, right? Oh
Yeah.
man, that is so
Yeah.
good.
So kind of
Um,
adding on to what Joy has just shared,
goodness.
truly every moment of our lives really has the potential of becoming a story. So it can be
Yes.
something as simple as working in the garden, planting something, but it's in that process of doing that there are thoughts and values that can be captured. So I would really invite you to join us in contributing something for volume 8. So
I
I
think
I
what's
have here. I have
interesting.
a
Oh,
note to
sorry. You have
myself.
a
It's
note?
it's a it's a gift that keeps on giving, because
Mm,
once you have it documented, it's there for perpetuity.
Yeah.
So
mhm.
yeah, so your future generations can enjoy those stories too.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is really
Yeah.
important to put it down in words, right? I think it
Yeah.
because it lives beyond us.
Yeah,
And just like the
Mhm.
Yeah.
document that the Uchima document that you mentioned
yes,
earlier, right? It's something that can live on for future generations beyond your own memory. Um,
correct, correct. And in these stories, and even like the document, you capture some ancient wisdom that has
mm,
actually filtered down through the
Mm.
generations. And
Mhm.
so it's these treasures in these stories that becomes so satisfying to read. um, read more than write, because writing can become such a laborious process too.
right.
But I would really encourage you folks to indulge in this activity.
Well, thank you so much. I think, what's interesting is that, like how Joy mentioned, some people might think, oh, well, it's not that, it was a simple life or anything. But I
Hmm.
think we also find connection in that, like, you know, in the simple ways, like my grandparents used to come out and say bye to everyone after, like they watch the car drive
Yeah.
away. Like I didn't realize everyone
Hi,
else's
Ty.
family
I'm
also
Jackie
did that.
Toma,
Oh,
and I
there's
first
Jackie's
joined
video.
the OGSH
Oh,
in
um,
there's a video.
I
2018
believe we have
because I
another
was
video too, right? Talking about stories. We also have a video from Jim Lane, another testimonial, kind of how um, they were able to, use some of the OGSH research and database um, to share their story. So, do we have that video from Jim?
Our client was a man in his late 40s who had an American father and Okinawan mother who also had another daughter from a previous marriage. They had moved to the US and the client was born in North Carolina. Due to homesickness and difficulty living in the United States, the mother moved back to Okinawa with her daughter, and the parents divorced, with the client remaining with his father in the US. Client's father passed away in 2013, and he wanted to locate his mother and half-sister after 40 plus years. Since this is a modern case involving locating someone in Okinawa, we couldn't use our traditional methods of family tracing. However, OGSH used their contacts, namely a local from Hawaii now living in Okinawa, to assist in this search. He enlisted several Okinawan volunteers to help him, and they canvassed the Aza the mother was from in Shuri. After many leads, they finally found someone who knew the sister-in-law of the client's half-sister, who was now living in the US. They made contact via email and eventually met in person. Unfortunately, the mother had passed away in 2007.
That was Jay Higa kind of talking about the Jim Lane story and how, it's never too late to look back, and so that you can document this for your own family. And I should also mention, somebody mentioned this to me once, that you got to kind of be prepared when you do these kind of family searches for what you might find, and it may not be comfortable sometimes, right? It may not be. I remember somebody saying, "Oh, they found out there was a third wife somewhere," oops, that grandpa never mentioned, kind of thing. And those are the things you kind of have to prepare yourself to find out and be open to it, and not get angry at our research assistants when they do find something that we found out, right? But it's our family history, and I think that sometimes that's part of the journey, right? Knowing that our grandparents, our great grandparents, our ancestors were not perfect, right?
No.
But that there are a lot of lessons, and I think some of us can only imagine the hardships, right? That they've gone through.
One story I heard from my auntie before she passed away, my grandfather emigrated at a late age, 34, and that was kind of old for your average. And I found out that my grandmother was his third wife. And yes, the third wife. And the reason he left was because, after 3 wives, if you don't have any children, it's kind of an embarrassing situation. So he told his family he was going to go to Hawaii for a 2-year contract. Well, the interesting part about that story is that after he left, his third wife, which was my grandmother, was pregnant. So she followed him to Hawaii, and they had 4 children in Hawaii. So, it's these stories that I think, you find out that your ancestors are people too,
Yeah. And maybe we find some commonalities, right, with them. Connection,
Fact is, more interesting than, fiction actually sometimes, right?
Yeah. Let's get into some of the kind of activities that OGSH is kind of getting into. So we know that you mentioned that OGSH held its own symposium in Okinawa, right, during the Worldwide Uchinanchu Festival that year. So how did all that start?
Okay, so this symposium that you're talking about was actually it was a collaboration between Hawaii entities and also Okinawa. So it wasn't something that was strictly coordinated by OGSH.
Oh, I see all the logos underneath, yeah.
Yeah. There were other players in this whole development, and a lot of it kind of how shall I say, the Uchima document kind of fed became the catalyst for this whole ancestral symposium. And so, like I said, I was looking at the notes that Tokiko Bazel had written for this particular symposium, and this was back in 2011. And what surprised me, okay, I have to share this personal insight, because what surprised me was when I looked at this poster, this was back in 2011. I didn't know that any of the organizations on the bottom, so OGSH is there, HUOA, WOB, and Center for Okinawan Studies. And so here I was, I mean, our family document was the subject of this particular symposium, but at that time I knew nothing about these organizations. Little did I know that, yes, it's kind of like, you got to kind of think there's like a third hand that's kind of guiding all of this stuff, because right,
Bringing us together.
yeah, bring it be slowly into the fold, for lack of a better way to describe it. But but so that's what happened with this particular symposium. And so the prefectural museum and University of Hawaii Hamilton Library, they were all involved with this, in addition to all the organizations listed there. And I heard that Dr. Nakasone also had a very personal role in this whole symposium too. So that's what started this whole first
Yeah.
ancestral symposium. Yes.
So, did they do another one in 2016 at the next Taikai?
The
And
2016, I believe, was a different topic. It didn't. I think 2016 resulted in some collaboration, I think, with OPL. Yeah. So I think that's where that one went. So I don't know what's coming up now for the Taikai that's coming up in
2022.
2022. Yeah. Yeah, because this year is actually the 10th year since that Taikai in 2011.
Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah.
before 2022 and a chance to go to Okinawa, I think now is the time, right, that people should do their research, kind of like how Joy's
Yes.
video
Yes.
had.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you wanna
Yes.
you wanna do the research ahead of time, so when you
Yes.
really take the opportunity while you're
There.
not to try and make some connections. And there's one thing, if a lot of relatives on the other side in Okinawa are so excited
I know.
when they hear about, could be a very distant relative, but
Yes.
one of the things that I think Okinawans are kind of, family is a big deal, right? And it doesn't matter if you're 8 generations, separated, you're still family, and that's and they get excited about seeing you and meeting you and wanting to know who you are. So.
Well, one thing one story I keep hearing over and over from people from here who go and meet relatives in Okinawa is they say, as soon as I see them, I know they're my relatives, because the family resemblance crosses all borders. Oh, he looks just like my uncle in Pearl City,
Yeah. Quick story. So my Nishihara relatives, my relatives who live in Nishihara, my dad's side of the family, the Miyahira relatives, it was like that. Like, as soon as I saw him, like, "Mo machigai naku, that's my relative," because he looks like exactly like my grandfather. Like, almost scary kind. Same glasses, just same build, And so my father, the first time I got to visit these relatives with my father, he was like, it was like looking at his own dad, and I could tell he was kind of like, oh, it's just so weird, but Okinawan genes are strong, man. It doesn't matter if you're 4 or 5 generations separated. It's kind of amazing, right? To see, like, wow, that guy looks just like my uncle. But another, really great activity that I know OGSH has always done is, at the last in-person, Okinawan festivals that we've had at the convention center, we've always, OGSH has had a room where people could come in, right, and fill out that form, right?
Yes, correct.
And you can kind of, right then and there, kind of walk some people through the database.
Right.
Can you tell us about your
Correct.
experience there?
Yeah. Well, we have had a lot of people come through, and actually there was one incident where someone came up from the U.S. I think they were visiting from the mainland though, and his last name was some Okinawan name. I can't remember what it is now. And then a few minutes later, somebody else from I think it was overseas came up and had the same last name, and apparently they were related to each other, and they both were in the OGSH exhibition, and they found out that they met somebody right there and then in the exhibit.
That's so cool.
I mean, that is fate, I guess. I don't know.
Like before 23andMe was a thing, the ancestry, but before, like OGSH 10 was where you found your other relatives, right? That's awesome. But OGSH, besides, the database is really kind of the core of where a lot of the activities happen for OGSH. But you guys do other, other things too, right? Like activities.
Yes. Yes. Well, prior to the COVID restrictions, we had our monthly meetings, and they were in person at the HOC. And we usually met on the third Saturday of the month, from like 9 to 12. And, at these meetings, we shared information. We did, we researched problems. We got, advice from more experienced OGSH members if we ran into a problem. We used the computer. We planned events, of course. And, we conducted club business. So, but since COVID set in, unfortunately, we've had to move our internet our meetings over the internet, and we're using Zoom software like everybody else is doing, I guess. And it's not quite as good as being in person, but at least we're staying in touch. But I think the most popular feature of our monthly meetings is that we have guest speakers every month. And I have a video here to show some of the past guest speakers that we've had, and some of the few that we're going to have in the next few months. A very popular item on our monthly meeting agenda is the time allotted for guest speakers. These are just a few of the speakers we've had over the years. Their topics were varied. Some were culture related: Okinawan dance, Okinawan music, Sanshing, Okinawan literature. Some were history related: experiences of Hawaii translators in Okinawa during and after World War II, or the roots of Okinawan identity. Some were members sharing their search results. Having our meetings over Zoom hasn't kept us from recruiting interesting speakers. In the past year, we have had Dr. Charlene Gima, Assistant Professor of Language Arts at Honolulu Community College, who teaches a class in Okinawan literature there, and she talked about that very same subject. Eric Wada, Artistic Director of Ukvanshin Kabudan, talked about our Okinawan indigenous identity. Brandon Ng talked about Okinawan folk songs and Okinawan culture. William Doi, a 5th-degree black belt in Aikido and currently with the Kupuna Aikido Safe Falling program, taught us how to protect ourselves from serious injury from falling. Dr. Mark McNally, Professor of History at UH Manoa, talked about his latest book. Gwen Fujie, a communication expert, talked about finding her Uchinanchu identity. And scheduled for upcoming meetings, in September, we're having Jeffrey Higa. Jeffrey is an award-winning writer whose latest book, Calabash Stories, won the Robert C. Jones Prize for Short Prose. On the agenda for our October meeting is Reverend Shindo Nishiyama of Jikoeng Hongwanji Mission. He will be talking about family cemetery plots, urns, butsudan, and other issues relating to them. So, come and join us. We welcome guests. Every year, OGSH has an exhibit at our annual Okinawan Festival, when it's in person, that is, where we promote Okinawan culture and history. We have a genealogy research section where the public can inquire about their Issei family using our immigrant database. We also offer our guidebooks for sale and our short story books. We also offer bookmarks which contain Ryukyu last names in English and in kanji. There is one for just about every Okinawan family name. These are my two family bookmarks, Shimobukuro and Inafuku. We also organize a lot of other events. We went to the Honouliuli internment camp. Here is the Taikai opening day parade. We organized a special tour group to Okinawa. Many OGSH members have been very generous over the years. Makyo Namine donated enough funds to install an elevator at the HOC. Here's a banquet that we had at the Hawaiian Plantation Village. Every year in November, we have our annual banquet. Since it's held at the end of the year, we don't call it a Shinenkai, we call it a Bonenkai, or end of year celebration. We enjoy a tasty meal, great entertainment, and members bring their family and friends. It's always a good time. And of course, you can't end any celebration without a good kachashi.
I missed Bonenkai Shinenkai party.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah, we all do.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. This is such a, I think Pat said it too. He said this is such an important, resource for people, and it's such an informative show for anybody wanting to search for their roots. How to do it, how to start, and so tell us a little bit more. We've been having a lot of questions. How do we get in touch with you so we can get the booklet or the
OGSH, we have, can you bring up the OGSH contact information? Yes, you can reach us by mail. At the Okinawan Genealogical Society of Hawaii, care of the Hawaii Okinawa Center, 94-587 Ukee Street, Waipahu 96797. You can call us by phone and leave us a message with HUOA staff, and they'll get to us. You can reach us by email at ogsh.mail@gmail.com. So there are many ways to get in touch with us. But before we leave, I would like to, as you know, we've had a lot of volunteers that dedicated a lot of time, and I would like to recognize them before we leave. For example, the database, it took 20 years to create the database. Ron Miyashiro and Steve Miyashiro, I don't believe they're related. They created the original database format. The translations and the data entry for the manual portion of the database were completed by Jun Arakawa, Nobu Takeno, Nancy Tome, Bob Kishaba, Carol Chun, Ryoko Yamamoto, and Sally Tsuda. The online database was created by Alan Toma, Shigeru Yoshimoto, and Hiroaki Hara. The guidebook, of course, that took a lot of time. It all started in 1997 with Kei Yamada. She just prepared a folder with basic information. Over the years, various members added to this folder. And then in 2012, a committee chaired by Nancy Yogi with Jean Fujita, Ronald Miyashiro, Curtis Shinsato, Terence Shinsato, Amy Tsuru, and Stan Uehara completed the guidebook as it is today. And finally, the short story books. It took hours to compile and edit those. The first book in 2004 was compiled by Ed and Pearl Toma. And of course, they've been involved in several books since then. Terry Shinsato has also chaired several committees for several of those books. And of course, Sally Tsuda, she practically edited and proofed probably all 7 books. And lastly but not least, Curtis Shinsato designed all 7 covers. As you can see, they're very attractive. So I want many thanks to all of our OGSH volunteers over the last, 28 years, because they have really created such a resource that we can all use today. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for, I mean, like, what a wonderful legacy, I think, for people to help read. And somebody asked, is there any digital versions of or hard copies of the short stories available for purchase?
Ooh, not as of yet, but
no.
that may be something we want to look into, isn't that, Donna? Yeah.
Yeah.
So any young people out there who want to help digitize the hard copies, right?
Yes.
And get those online for
We
people to
welcome volunteers.
So you can email ogsh.mail@gmail.com. You guys still have copies of I have volume 7, right? But do the older volumes?
We still have copies available, yes.
Okay, so you can contact them if you'd like to buy a hard copy.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And you can do that through the ogsh.mail@gmail.com. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'm so glad we'll be able. This is going to be on YouTube, right? So you can always point to it and tell people to go watch the episode if they want to know more about OGSH now. So, just such a wonderful, wonderful service. I do believe this is a public service that we offer the community. And look, Chrissy, I'm putting this on, so it's on our YouTube channel. She'd be more than happy to volunteer her time. Please email us, Chrissy Yogi.
Okay.
We'll be watching out for your email.
Yeah.
So, okay. But thank you guys so much for
Thank you.
kind of telling the world. And I know we flashed it up there, but we had somebody from São Paulo, Brazil, who kind of, he threw a message up on our YouTube page before we even started saying, it's going to be 2 a.m. in Brazil, so he won't be able to watch this, but he just wanted to say thank you so much to Pearl Shinsato Toma and Rodney Kohagura for OGSH members for helping him 3 years ago find relatives in Hawaii. So it's really a worldwide project. Truly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you
those
for
of
having us.
Remember to
Thank you.
subscribe to HUOA YouTube page. If you haven't already, please like and follow us on Facebook. You get more information on all of our websites and things like this. And share this for all the younger people out there. Share this with your families. I think this is not something for old people. This is definitely something that a lot of young people have a lot of interest in. And especially, maybe you don't have grandma and grandpa around to help you, right? Find the information. Well, you have a whole club of people here who are willing to help you, who literally have the volunteer title of research assistant, who might be able to help you find some information. But you do have to do some digging on your own first, right? And
Yes.
comes with as much information as possible. So, but thank you again for all that you guys do. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. You can roll the subscription. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
So mahalo for all of your
Mahalo and ippe nihe debiru.
Uchinanchu aloha around the world. Also, don't forget to give our videos a thumbs up. Mahalo and yuta surugutu urige sabina.